Salutations, everybody. It is Matty here today. I hope all of you are doing better than me. I may not sound it, but I am absolutely exhausted. It truly is game review season, but fortunate to be doing what I'm doing, so thank you all so much for supporting me and providing these amazing opportunities. Today, we're sitting down again to talk about Bethesda. While there's a lot of drama surrounding the company, the world continues to rotate. We have other news to talk about like Starfield, Redfall, and Fallout 76 in today's video. Funnily enough, the first two always seem to come in batches. Like, I haven't been able to really just talk about Starfield only or Redfall only. It seems like they're always coming out as a group. So Starfield, we're going to get into the delay a little bit and the reasoning behind it. I feel like I can provide some new insight into the situation on the delay because I thought that what Phil said was pretty fascinating. We're also going to get into Redfall and how a beta may be on the way. It's just a matter of when. And last but not least, Fallout 76 got a brand new update on its PTS, and I know many of you are probably like, well, I don't give a shit about that. But what I will throw out there is it's sent some of the community in a downward spiral, and some have been placed in a point of true optimism. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're new here and you're into all of this Bethesda news and information, certainly you're in the right place. We're always covering them. Consider subscribing. Let's start off with the big daddy. We got to talk about Starfield in the beginning of all these videos because I know that's what y'all want. So let's do this thing. Starfield, the delay, Phil Spencer's reasoning, a lot of PR corporate speak, but the last paragraph, which I will highlight, is something I can offer a little bit more insight on, so let's get started. We have experienced shipping games too early, Spencer said, but in hindsight, when you look at a game like Starfield, which has taken so long and so much investment in new IP from the team, the decision to give the team the time to build the game that they feel they should be building is just the right thing to do. I'm going to stop there for a moment. The reason why I call this PR and corporate speak is because I just look at Halo Infinite and I go, okay, yeah, we give them the time. I know Infinite had some time, but I think that game needed some more time in the oven to achieve its full vision, which we now have here with the winter update. Check it out if you haven't, by the way. It's pretty solid. But let's continue on to the second comment here, where Phil continues and we can offer more insight and take a deeper look at this one. Starfield and Redfall, which are our first big Xbox games with Bethesda owner ZeniMax coming into the team, I just wanted to make sure those teams feel they have the support they could get from Xbox. Maybe feel some of the benefit of being part of a larger organization that has other revenue streams and other things going on that could be helpful. All right, so the reason why I wanted to offer some insight on this is the timing actually couldn't have been better. So just yesterday, as of the time of recording this, I got to sit down and interview Josh Sawyer, like the Josh Sawyer, man. Bucket list interview, rad dude, awesome time. It was me, Cog, Josh. We sat down on DDU. I'm not sure when that episode's coming out, but expect it soon. Anyway, really pumped about it. But sitting down to talk with Josh, we got into everything from Obsidian, their team structure, Game Pass, the future of Josh Sawyer, and of course we talked about the recently released Pentiment, where the story behind that's fascinating because one thing that Josh did let us know is there was a bit of a nefarious ploy. So one of my personal questions for him was, hey, Pentiment's kind of a niche game. Like, how did you pitch this and get it where Obsidian bought in and in turn Xbox bought in? And pretty much Josh admitted that it was a very nefarious ploy by him in the sense that he timed it out with the acquisition and thought, you know, Xbox may want to do right by one of their lead directors, one of their lead creators, and, you know, let them do something that they want. Like, hey, Josh, you know, welcome to the family. Here's a special treatment. You know, kind of like the aunt or uncle, the grandma or grandpa who always shows up with like a cool gift or a little bit of money every time. And as a kid, you know, they imprint on you a little bit more. You're like, that's the rad set of grandparents over there. So that's kind of what I was envisioning was happening here as Josh described it. But the point being is that he described the situation where Xbox wanted to, you know, cater to the new family member, if you will. Treat them right. Provide them a sense of security and say, like, look, we can invest in this niche $20 game. Of course we can. You know, what's the big deal here? And so he was able to make it. And whether that's the only time he makes it or not, it was a dream game of his, and now he got to do it. He also talked about how he kind of threatened to leave the company, although I don't know if that was necessarily in jest or not. I'll have to listen back on that one. But point being is that we see a situation there where Phil and the team at Xbox, you know, gave Josh Sawyer a little massage and went, hey, big man, like, look, go make the game you want to make. Same thing here, because I think what happened with you know, a longer standing family member in 343, you don't get that new family member treatment, right? It's like, all right, your game's done. Out the door it goes. It's ready. But with Starfield and Redfall, you really have to nurture these companies and let them believe the idea that, like, hey, we're Xbox, the difference makers. Because as Matty has been saying for quite a while now, this is why I'm happy you're here, right? Because I'm right so often. I'm just kidding. But point being is, I've been saying for some time now that these games are some of the most important Xbox will ever have to launch. Starfield, I think, being the biggest game of this generation. All eyes are going to be on them, players or not. All eyes are going to be on them, and it's a prove-it moment to say, when you work with Xbox, your games are better. Because, of course, then the companies are going to line up, maybe not to sell, but certainly to pitch games, to partner up, if Starfield is the smash hit that it absolutely needs it to be. There's so many business opportunities beyond Starfield that Xbox, as a business, is motivated to make this game right. Not just for the revenue they'll earn from that, but the amount of opportunities that will open up afterwards based off the public goodwill that is gained, based off the corporate goodwill that's gained by nailing these two games and giving them at least a chance to do their best. So that's one reason why I wanted to highlight this all. Is not only the insight I got from the Josh Sawyer interview, but also just the fact that they need to nail these games, and it seems it's understood, not just on a quality level, but based off how it's going to look with the new company coming in and saying, in one instance, they could be, hey, just ship Starfield. That's enough. Like, it's time to put this game out. Versus what's happening here, which is, okay, we understand this is a more delicate situation. Let's take our time with this. So I wanted to make sure I covered that and offered some insight on it. Still no release date, still no new updates on it. I know I'm just getting a little impatient here because at the end of the day, we did see the dialogue system pretty recently, but I'm just itching for more Starfield. I gotta be honest, I'm getting not into Fallout 4 territory in the terms of hype. I don't think I'll ever reach that point again, but when it comes to Fallout 4, I remember I like get up and check the news every day and just see what's going on. And I'm starting to get into that routine. Like, it's my morning paper. Like, anything happen with Starfield? Nothing. That's what's starting to happen here. So it's beginning to set in until we can see a little bit more and then we can really feast again. But that's what's going on with Starfield. Let's move on over to Redfall, where I think something interesting is happening here. And the reason you want to track Redfall, even if you're watching this video for Starfield and you may not give a shit, you want to track Redfall because Redfall is definitely going to come ahead of Starfield. So Redfall seems to be having a beta. This was discovered over on Reddit, where an end user license agreement was discovered on Steam, and someone checked the Steam ID for this beta and it matched up with that of Redfall. One thing you have to keep in mind is that they did do beta testing, or I'm sorry, alpha testing last year around September. You may remember screenshots were leaking for Redfall before we got our first look at it, and a lot of people were really critiquing it, saying like, oh god, it's a looter shooter. And I mean, it is, but a lot of people were casting judgment on it. I think the game has looked pretty solid since its last trailer. I've definitely turned a corner on it a bit, where I've become more excited about it. If they show more of that style of Redfall, I'll definitely be much more excited heading into launch. The question is, are we getting a taste sooner than expected? Or is this a beta for, you know, the play testers behind the scenes who are giving feedback to Arcane? It's really anybody's guess, but given that it's on Steam and not something like what we saw with Nvidia, I imagine that this is something that will eventually be available to the public. Given the timing here, it is November 17th as I record this video. What's coming up pretty soon? The Game Awards. So yeah, I would say this is not something you should 100,000% expect to happen. But I do believe that Redfall could get a beta announcement there, because when you look at the marketing for Redfall, one thing I talked about in a video a couple of weeks ago was that Xbox's marketing has been pretty heinous for some of their titles. Like Redfall definitely being a culprit of that as well, where just timing is random. There's not a lot of signal boosting and making it a big deal. It just kind of happens and it's whatever. Maybe it's because Xbox doesn't have the premium allure yet, where PlayStation does. When they drop a God of War trailer, it's a, oh, man, like this is a moment, this is exciting, where Xbox has to earn that. And I don't know if Redfall right now is the call to quality and prestige that people are imagining, such as what Starfield is, which is drawing mass attention anytime it does something. But with Redfall, since it needs all the eyes it can get on it, I do think the Game Awards is a sensible place that you could see it pop up on. I do think the Game Awards could be a place you say, hey, here's the release date, here's the beta, enjoy, and kind of get it kickstarted. Because I could see a really fun scenario where maybe Redfall's dropping in February, March, with a beta in January. I think that'd be a really strong start to the year for Xbox, because we got to remember, Xbox's first half of the year, including this year, including last year, and so on and so forth, is typically pretty barren. You could account for indies, day one Game Pass drops, and fill in those gaps, and that's totally fair because it's the Xbox ecosystem, but that's one major change that will be happening next year, provided there's no delays. I imagine if Redfall is gearing up for a beta, that will determine a lot of that release window, so we may not exactly get that, but maybe we'll play the beta, give Arcane our feedback, they'll take it all in, and then they'll decide, okay, we don't need to change much, or we need to change a lot, and gauge the release date off of that. But I digress. Excited to lay my hands on this one because I want to get a feel for the exploration and the tension, provided this is going to be a public beta. For me, the thing I was concerned about with Redfall is it did look like a bit of a generic loot shoot, kind of Far Cry style game where you show up to a barren location just filled with enemies, you pick them off one by one, the AI is stupid, and you move on to the next location. What I loved about specifically Dishonored and Prey, I can't really say the same for Deathloop, is the intimate exploration is what I like to call it. Something that I think Bethesda Game Studios does as well, but Arcane, I would say, in a lot of ways does it better because they do more hub style levels where you go into locations, you pick up notes, you read them, every item, the map is interactable. It's just, again, a very intimate form of exploration where there is a high level of player interaction and experimentation ongoing that I adore. So if there is that there inside Redfall, I'll be pumped. But I just think, given it's got co-op, we saw in Deathloop how that online component does limit. It absolutely 100% limits the exploration of the game. When I fired up Deathloop, one of the first things I noticed is there's way more buildings walled off than any other Arcane game I've played. I can't crawl through any buildings, any windows. I'm only restricted to rooftops and the occasional room to go into. And I think that's because of the invasion multiplayer mechanic it has. Now we're accounting for 4 people, but it's on an exclusive next-gen console. So we'll see how it balances out, but that to me is the thing I'm really gonna look for. And I don't think a trailer can necessarily tell me anything about that. So that's what's going on with Redfall. That's why I'm looking forward to the beta, and it's something you should keep an eye out for probably around the Game Awards. The last bit of news here has to do with Fallout 76. Now, I know a lot of you are like me, you're like, okay, anyway, I do want to try out this Nuka World tour patch that they're doing. It does look pretty fun. I've heard some good things about it, so we'll probably check it out in the coming weeks. But anyway, I saw that the Fallout 76 community was freaking out in a positive and negative way. I think the people who were abusing this mechanic are the ones who were most displeased. So pretty much what was happening is there are these things called, I was not aware of this, legacy weapons in Fallout 76. And if you've ever seen like gameplay clips online where people are using weapons that melt Scorch Beast Queens in a heartbeat, and these big endgame enemies are just dropping in a matter of moments, it's not much of a challenge. They've pretty much walled off these weapons capable of doing that. They've taken off the explosive module to certain legendaries and pretty much have nerfed a lot of the significantly powerful weapons. Now, a lot of the community is like, yeah, nice. Like, I didn't like using those anyway. They broke the game. They made the challenges underwhelming. People are ruining the game for me. There's also a segment of the community that's a little displeased because for them, it was fun. But also, and I'll just throw my hat in the ring on this aspect, Fallout 76's damaging balance is some of the worst shit I've ever seen. Like, it's, when I played the pit, I was sitting there going, wow, these enemies are my level or below, and they just won't die. And you can go watch that video if you don't believe me. Like, it's a big talking point in that video. Like, I still am stunned by the damage balancing in that game. Now, a lot of the community had reacted with this Fallout 76 news saying, it should have been done a couple of weeks into the game, but 4 years? We'll take it, I guess. That's kind of the name of the game with Fallout 76. But with the Nuka World update with this update as well to legacy weapons. A lot of folks are starting to have some restored confidence with 76 as they're making the right changes consecutively. They're adding fun content consecutively. So I will be, as always, keeping my eye on it, keeping an open mind to it all, because no one wants to love Fallout 76 more than me. I'd love to just go get my Fallout fix every couple of months and instead not get pissed off at Fallout every couple of months. But anyway, that's just an update that's happening there, and it's something you should keep an eye on, because I imagine after this, a weapon rebalance should come to the game. And if it's not, Bethesda, I know some of y'all watch my videos, please consider it. I say it not for me. I say it for all the thousands of people who are suffering from weapons that just don't do enough damage. If they got the balancing right for the weapons, I think they may start to be cooking a little bit with something. Now you got the NPCs. Now combat doesn't feel ridiculous. Like if you go from Fallout 4 to Fallout 76, it is a transformative experience. And I'm not talking about going single player to multiplayer. I'm talking about weapon damage. It is insane. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, that's what's going on in the world of Fallout 76, the Appalachia. And that's what's going on with Bethesda. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let me know what you're thinking in the comments down below about all this stuff. I'm certainly looking forward to seeing your thoughts. Other than that, follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram. Those links are in the description down below. And a big thank you to all the patrons, all the members who continue to support the hell out of the content here. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.